I always use the phrase clear as kind. When you are clear with people, you are being kind to them because you are giving them the expectation. You are allowing them an insight into what you need and desire and want. And particularly when we run our own businesses, so many of us have come from a place where we had a terrible boss.
That's Lindsay White of High Voltage Leadership. I'm Cara Duffy, and this is the Powerful Ladies Podcast. Welcome to the Powerful Ladies Podcast.
Woohoo!
Let's begin by telling everybody who you are, where you are, and what you're up to in the world.
Yeah. I'm Lindsay White, and I'm the founder of High Voltage Leadership. I'm located in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, the snowy north today.
It is. I looked at a map of North America's weather today, and there's literally something happening in every corner possible. We had a power outage at my house last night. The winds are crazy around here. There's a blizzard warning in Southern California for the first time in 20 years. Yeah.
That's bananas. Mm-hmm. Well, I just want to apologize because that polar vortex is coming straight down from the Arctic. Yes, that's correct. Santa Claus lives in the North Pole. That's in Canada. He has a Canadian passport, just so we're all clear. And we apologize that we've sent you our super shitty weather. Buckle up.
It is so crazy. And like Salt Lake City is like, it has been snowing for 24 hours straight. I'm like, okay. Yeah.
That's what we got. We got about 1.5 feet of snow in about 14 hours. And now we're used to that, but it still made things a little tricky here, to be perfectly honest with you. And we're still trying to dig ourselves out a little bit. But it's about minus 25 degrees Celsius, which I don't even know what that is Fahrenheit. It's cold.
It's very cold, probably like negative 40-ish.
Yeah, something around there. Yeah, it's reasonably miserable.
Well, so while you're, freezing in Canada, you have started this company called High Voltage Leadership, which to me instantly sounding a lot warmer than what you're dealing with outside. What is High Voltage Leadership and where did this business come from?
Yeah, great question. So high voltage actually comes from my life purpose statement, which is to be the high voltage extension cord that connects people to their own inner brilliance. That is my purpose on this planet. It's why I'm here.
Love that.
And yes, that it really is. It's a phrase that encompasses so many meaningful things to me in terms of my own values and my energy level and the passion that I bring to every relationship and connection that I create. The actual coaching and consulting practice comes out of a couple things. So I have been in human resources and talent management for 15 years. So I have a pretty extensive background. And as a business partner in a lot of those spaces, I've done just about everything from recruitment to organizational design to compensation. I'm not an expert at many of them. I'm kind of a jack of all trades. And what I love to do is to be able to scale that knowledge that I got from the corporate world, bring it to a female-led small business. I also had, like so many of us, a toxic boss. And for so many of us that have left the corporate world, that is a big reason why we never went back. And I worked for one of those assholes, and I quit in the middle of a meeting with her because she was such a jerk. And I was so sick and tired of every time she contacted me, it was to give me shit about something stupid. She was one of those people that would give you half the information and then beat you up because you didn't do what she wanted you to do. And I finally said to her, like, I'm not a mind reader, like, enough. Mm-hmm. And when I left, I was sick. Physically, mentally, emotionally. I was taking anti-anxiety meds. I was taking sleeping meds. I went and had some testing done. I literally had no good things left in my body except for iron because my doctor had me on an iron supplement. I was drained, like physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And I was so lucky. I had already recognized I loved coaching leaders. And I worked with a lot of senior leaders, a lot of C-suite executives, supporting them as they grew their leadership, style and strategy, and then supporting them in how they built their people strategy and their teams. And so I went immediately from quitting my job into my coaching certification process, I spent 14 months deeply embedded in learning how to be a great coach. And I coached, but I knew I wanted to be a fantastic coach. And it's the best thing that I ever did. And I was really able to immerse myself in the process and the program and just being a coach. And out of that, my own peers challenged me to start my own practice. And that became high voltage leadership. And so now that's what I do is I take all of that awesomeness and I just use it on a micro scale for female entrepreneurs, their teams, helping them create incredible cultures, fabulous places to work. They can lead in their business, but also in their life. And the ripple effects of that are astronomical.
First, I love that your peers were the ones that peer pressured you into starting your business.
They would call it coaching, but yes,
yeah.
there's definitely pressure. Yeah.
Well, that's what I think is so funny. You know, I remember taking a communication and leadership class ages ago when I worked at Puma. And I was living in Germany at the time. So this was the English speaking version of that class. So it was like myself and the Italians and people from Spain and Canada and like all the non-Germans. There were a few Germans in the group too, because we all were speaking English in the office, but it was mostly the expats. And the Italians who were in the group with me were a part of my team. And we finished this course and they raised their hand and go, so when are we allowed to use this to get what we want? Because it is the superpower. Like once you know how to communicate powerfully, once you know how to lead, once you know how to coach, like there's this balance of like, when does it become manipulative? Because I know how to control the room and get what I want. And the teacher got so embarrassed. She's like, you're not supposed to use this for bad. And the guy on my team was like, I don't want to use it for bad. I want to use it for what I want. And it was such a unique distinction that I will never forget that moment. And so to go back to your peers, like there is this borderline where you're like, I know what's good for you. Let's just push you over there slowly, or how about real fast?
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely an interesting moment. I've all along called myself an accidental entrepreneur. I have absolutely no business running a business, right? Like I really don't. And my learning curve has been straight up in a lot of ways. And so, I mean, if nothing else, I take that back to my clients, all of the hard-earned lessons from my own entrepreneurial journey. But I mean, coaching really is about using your powers for good, not evil. There's absolutely no doubt. And you have to really learn the practice of self-management in order to be a really effective coach. It is not about me.
No.
In fact, I am a strong advocate for anyone that you see on Instagram that calls himself a coach and all it is pictures of them. Run and hide. That is the opposite of what you need to look for in a good coach. But it is. I mean, ultimately, you really have to have the best of purpose and intention behind what you're trying to create as a coach, or it does go horribly wrong, right? It really can.
Well, and that's why I think integrity matters so much. Like, and I don't think it absolutely you need this in a coach or any other sort of influential role, but just in general with businesses. I mean, anything that's going to trip us up or get in our way or be a mindset thing that we have to overcome, it so often ties back to this integrity piece. And what I end up working with a lot of clients through is how can you be 100% you and be in integrity at the same time?
Yeah.
And I think that's such an interesting conversation to have. So how does the integrity piece fit into your world and what advice would you give in that space?
Yeah. You know what? Integrity is a really important value for me, and authenticity is my core value. Yeah. I spent a lot of years not being able to be myself. I am the anti-HR lady. Yeah. Right? Where most HR people, let's be honest, is a pink job. Most HR ladies are yes people. And they are compliant and they say yes and they don't argue and they don't push back. I'm the opposite of that. I'm completely disruptive. I truly am high voltage, right? So I don't fit the mold. And I spent a lot of time trying to be the square peg in the round hole. Doesn't work. So authenticity for me is key, but high integrity, always. Doing what is right, even when no one's watching, even when it's harder, and even when it doesn't make you money. And that's what I talk a lot about with my clients is if that's what you want as one of your corporate values is integrity, because that's important to you, then you need to do it even when it actually doesn't make a whole lot of sense sometimes. But you do it because it is the right thing to do. And I think that can line up with authenticity, because if you truly believe that integrity is a value of yours, then it should fit neatly inside of who you are authentically. You're nodding. So that makes sense to you.
It makes sense to me. And, integrity is, to me, like living in integrity and living authentically, like they're almost saying the same thing. Because if
Yeah.
you're not being authentic to yourself, then you're not in integrity with your self-expression and what your passion is and what you could be doing. Like
100%.
integrity is, when we talk about wanting alignment, I think that word resonates with people sometimes easier than integrity, because we put like morality behind integrity sometimes and
Yeah.
we don't need to. But if you want to live an aligned, purposeful life, then it's going to have a lot of integrity, because it just means that things are where they're supposed to be. Like,
Well, and it means that you are truly passionate about uncovering where they are not.
yes.
Because to be someone with high integrity, to live in that integrity, you have to be prepared for people to call you out and give you strong feedback when you are
Yeah.
not, so that you can recognize, because it's
Yeah.
not, this isn't a straight, narrow path. It is a winding, bumpy road.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you will find yourself outside of your integrity and you need someone to yank your chain so you have awareness and can recognize, oh, wait a minute, there's the line. It's way back there. Holy shit. Whoops. Like, I didn't mean that. I guess I better fix that immediately. Right? That's what being integrity is. Again, doing it even if it's hard.
Yeah. And people often ask me as well, like, how do I build confidence? And I'm like, that's how. Like,
Yeah.
doing the integrity work, like doing things that are hard, doing it when no one else is looking, because you can't magic wand someone to have confidence. You can only get it, right? You can only get it by doing hard things. It's the only way.
Yeah. I think that's such a
Yeah.
great comment. Like, the confidence comes from doing the hard things, doing the hard work,
Mm-hmm.
doing the digging, right? Really
Yep.
uncovering and facing. And I think for so many people, what I see is we will go to incredible lengths as human beings to avoid the difficult things. Most importantly, the difficult emotions.
Oh, we're so sneaky at it.
We will shop until we drop. We will smoke or drink or have sex or gamble. We will do all sorts of self-destructive shit to avoid dealing with the difficult stuff. And it never ceases to amaze me that when you actually get into the difficult stuff, it's not nearly as hard as your brain made it out to be. Right? It's
No.
not nearly as scary or and it's in that process that you gain confidence in knowing my shit's not that bad.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Well, and that alone is,
yeah.
that alone is a huge part, I think, of the being confident in a room space. Even if like silly things, like I'll work with people going through just like an integrity checklist, which can have things like my car's not washed, or I need an oil change, or
Right?
like for a long time on my list was like fix the screen door. And it was like never, it was haunting me on the to-do list. But we don't realize that these things that we know are not the way they should be, even the things that you're like, why does it matter if there's dishes in my sink? I'm like, because if you show up and you need to rock it in a presentation or to a client, all of that's going to weigh on you as like not being done, not
Yeah.
being handled. And it can sound so silly, but I guarantee anyone listening, if you spend 2 hours just going around, putting all the silly things back into integrity, cleaning them up, putting them back where they should be, you'll be shocked at how different you feel because of how you are viewing yourself differently.
Yeah. I think procrastination in that same way is such a great indication. If you're procrastinating on something, and I got my hand up because I have something that I've carried forward on my planner for the last 3 weeks. I don't want to deal with it.
Yep.
If you're doing that, it is a pretty good indication there's something important going on there. What is that thing? That's the work, right? That's something that you actually need to get into. And it's a great place to bring that to a coach, because they will hold you down and open you up and really help you see what is in that is causing you to not do it. So I love it. I think some of those, and I do a lot of work with positive intelligence. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the book or the philosophy, but it's those hot stove moments, we would call it. Those moments when you feel the pain, like if you have your hand on the red hot stove, that's the moment that you know something's up. There's work to do there. Now, get your hand off the stove. Like, stop touching. Right? Mm-hmm. Stop touching. Like, why are you holding your hand on that hot, knock it off. But if you use the pain, to frame a word, if you use the pain as an indicator, that is a really good point at which you need to start thinking about, there's something here for me. Right?
Well, and what I often see people doing as well is like blaming themselves for overreacting or not being able to handle something. And I'm like, no. Like, whatever your natural reaction is to something, it's correct, but that's just the reaction. It's like, it's just the trigger. It's not the reaction. So it's triggering you. Trust it. It's telling you something, but we have to dig under it, because the first trigger response is never the real one, the one that's going to help you live your best life. It's never those things, but there's so much. I'm not sure how to articulate this movement in modern Western society. There's an element of, we don't trust ourselves because we think the way we react to things is broken or wrong. Mm-hmm. And we don't use all the intuition that we actually have to our advantage, especially in those hot stove moments.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And I think in particular as females, I think we are trained out of using our intuition, right? I'll never forget, this was like an Oprah moment from way back. So people are going to be able to judge my age here. But she had someone on the show, and I don't remember in particular, but it was like a personal safety expert. And this expert had said something about a gazelle would never get in an elevator with a lion.
Yeah.
But we do that all the time as women. We know something is wrong with that guy on the elevator, and we get in anyways because we're taught to be polite.
Yeah.
Who gives a shit? I'm never going to see that guy again. Why do I have to be polite? Like, whoa. And honestly, I mean, I've seen it in my own, I have 2 girls and I have 2 boys. I've seen it in my own girls where situations have developed because we don't trust our own intuition because we have to be nice. Yeah. And whether that's society or our parents or whatever, I mean, blame it on whoever you want. But we're trained out of trust your gut. If you just stop for a moment, get quiet, the right answer is right there. But we are told over and over again, particularly in our corporate lives, that we should not listen to that conversation. It's bullshit.
I honestly think, if I had to put a percentage on it, probably 40% of what I do for people is mindset oriented. And within that 40% that's mindset oriented, assuming the other parts like plans and structures and like actual math to make the business work, I would guess in that mindset portion, we spend 80% of our time unpacking and deleting and taser dusting all the shoulds. I'm like, why? What? How do we stop this cycle of, as someone said on a recent podcast, becoming an emotional Sherpa?
Yeah, totally. 100%. Yeah. I mean, I think the short answer is we don't. I don't know if we'll ever get rid of it.
Yeah.
Right. And actually, ironically, I think there's more of that shit now than ever. Mm-hmm. And I do believe our social media pipes into that. I'm as guilty as the next person. I mean, I doom scroll through Instagram and think about, oh my gosh, look at all these coaches with their 7-figure businesses and I don't have that. And and then I'm like, wait a minute. Anybody can rent a Lamborghini and lean up against it for a photo shoot. Like, time out. That is absolutely made up. It's completely false. It's totally fabricated. It's complete bullshit. That person flies economy just like I do. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's garbage.
Well, it's one of those tools, right? I was just listening to an interview with the CEO of Pinterest, because they're really pushing hard to change the AI to give you content for good versus give you content for screen time. Because content for screen time leads you towards anything controversial, triggering. It just increases aggression and things that are not good for culture and society at large. So they're really pushing. And of course, like, you go on Pinterest and maybe you get a little envious of someone's kitchen or apartment or whatever. Sure. But that's it's a place of hope. Like, we're building boards of like
yes,
visions.
Thank you.
And he's like, why can't the other platforms be like this? Like, why are we letting the AI control what we see versus what we should have? So it was really interesting, because I do think it goes both ways.
One short answer to that. I mean, we all know what the answer is. It makes money. They make a ton of money. Just follow the dollar bills and you'll find the reasoning behind it. It's not any more complicated or more simple than that. Mark Zuckerberg makes a shit ton of money because you doom scroll on Facebook and it just constantly feeds you the crap that your brain is hooked to. It's
so crazy. But I want to come back to the founder fraud thing, right? Because I think you hit on that, and that's really important, I think, in leadership space. Yeah. I keep them. I have 2 copies of a magazine that I saw that had a similar title to Powerful Ladies, that was featuring women up to cool things. And I got this magazine. I found it just as we were starting this company. And I bawled my eyes out because I just had one of those roller coaster breakdown days. And I went, it's already done. I don't have a space. Like, I just lost my shit. And it was complete nonsense. I don't even think the magazine exists anymore. I don't think it made it another 6 months after I saw it. But I honestly thought, I can't do this, for about 3 hours. And then I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to do it anyway. But there's so many times in my business, my clients, just in being a human, when you think someone else is doing it, they're doing it better, there's no room for me, I'm not good enough. Like, we are so shitty to ourselves. Yes. So what advice do you have for leaders or entrepreneurs about getting out of that space?
Yeah. It's as simple and as complicated as this. Give yourself some empathy. Give yourself some empathy. It's okay. It is okay to look at that Pinterest page, at that magazine cover, at that Instagram account and think, I'm a shitty loser. To have that moment and just sit with it. Don't run away from it. Sit with it and put your hand on your heart and have some empathy that is how you feel right now today. And once you do that, it has way less power to control how you're going to show up in the next moment and the next moment and the next moment. Right?
Mm-hmm. Well, and part of the reason why I love talking to other coaches, part of the reason we're doing the International Women's Day thing that may have probably aired before this one, so go back and listen to it, everybody, is because, like, I want to set the example of, look at all of these coaches who all have careers, they're all doing their life, they all have clients, everyone's doing great. There's so much room for everybody.
100%.
Like, but again, it comes back to being authentic to yourself, to your point, because, like, people who are going to be attracted to you as a coach versus me are going to have totally different needs and wants and all the things. And they could work with all of us at some point, because at different points in your life, it makes sense. It's like,
exactly.
Why? I also don't have the capacity. I love everyone and I can't help y'all. Like, I just can't. I can't work all the hours that my current clients want me to.
Exactly. And I do think, from an external perspective, that is 100% true. I also think what's been valuable for me as a coach and a business owner is recognizing who I do my best work with, who
Yes.
I enjoy working with the most, right? Because especially when you're starting a new business and you think, oh my gosh, there may not be space for me and I'm never going to make any money. I'm going to be a huge failure. And all of that shit's floating around in your head, circular, the shame spiral. I actually, like, sometimes even go on a shame bender. Like, it could be 2 or 3 days of that shit. I've had one of those. But the reality is that there is no one like you. Nobody's the same. And so no business is going to be exactly the same unless they copy you, and that's legal problems.
Rude and no integrity.
No integrity. And even then, are they going to be able to do it the same way you do? Are they going to deliver the same way you deliver? No, they're not. But we also have to recognize, who do we do our best work with? Because that's when we derive incredible pleasure and fulfillment from the work we get to do. And when you match those two things up, well, that's where the magic really starts to happen. It's never going to be the same. Like, it just couldn't possibly. Right? So I think when you frame it that way, that you're not just showing up in the world, that you're in choice all the time. Wow, that's a completely different perspective on where you're at, right?
It's abundance. It's having belief. It's having faith that you can actually do it. Like, knowing, like, if you know that you are standing in the space that you're supposed to be in, things shift. I can't coach people who don't have any belief it's possible. If you show up with like a little window, I just need a window, and we can make magic happen. A little bit. But if people show up and they're like, no, it's not possible. I'm like, well, I got to move on. Like, there are people who have so much belief, and all they need is to like fix one structure, and like everything changes for them. Like, that's going to be fun. And this, I think what you're saying is true for all businesses, not just coaching. Like, everyone should be choosing who they work with at that level. Like,
100%.
I don't want clients that I don't want to go on vacation with. The end.
No, you know what? It was really powerful for me to really explore. And I had done, I'll tell you honestly, I'd done all that client avatar work. I actually got to the point where I was like, if one more coach or consultant tells me I've got to spend more time on my client avatar, I am going to throw a tantrum. Like, I'm going to have a full scale meltdown. Don't say client avatar to me ever again. And then I actually went and did some work with a coach, and he was like, yeah, that stuff's all garbage. And I was like, oh my God, hallelujah. He was like, no, what we're going to talk about is your velvet rope. Who are you letting in? Who's on the special guest list? Who you said, who do I want to go on vacation with? Who do I want in the VIP area? That's how I sort of, right? Who do I want to party with? Those are the people that I do great work with. They experience incredible transformation for themselves, for their business, right? And they get what I do intuitively. They understand that the connection between the leadership coaching and the culture and the talent consulting, and they understand the ecosystem that is, it's intuitive for them. Hallelujah. That's easy work to do. It's fun. Everybody goes home happy. Everybody has lots of success, and the money rolls, right?
The end. Mic drop. Done.
Yeah.
But I so many people are petrified about being leaders. They are petrified about hiring wrong. They're petrified about micromanaging. Like, we are so afraid to be the person that we hate and revile. And I'm like, guys, if you hate that person that much, it's going to be really hard to be them, even if you think you're getting close. Yeah. Like, please, I have to tell people to be more mean on a regular basis. And not that people should ever be mean in the workplace, but it's a euphemism for, like, to do things that they're like, oh, that's so aggressive. And I'm like, all you did was ask for the copier to have paper in it all the time. Yeah. You're not declaring war. Yeah.
I think you bring up such a great point. And the phrase I often use, and I absolutely love Brene Brown. I would totally stalk her if I lived in Houston.
She's allowed in the VIP area.
110%. She's one of the first people in the VIP area. I love her. And I love that she's just, speaking of integrity, like she's just so bold with her integrity. But I always use the phrase clear is kind. When you are clear with people, you are being kind to them because you are giving them the expectation. You are allowing them an insight into what you need and desire and want. And particularly when we run our own businesses, so many of us have come from a place where we had a terrible boss. It's the truth. And so we swing the pendulum the other way and we become, well, don't use the term servant leader with me because I really don't like that, but we become a doormat leader. Like we just let our people walk all over us. Well, time out. Like that's no way to run a business.
No.
And it's certainly no way to create a great culture. So when you're clear with people, you are kind to them because they understand what is expected of them and they can deliver. And if they don't deliver, they're not working in the right place. So help them find the right place where they can deliver it because we all want to do great work. Yeah. Maybe that sounds a little Pollyanna, but I do believe that. I believe people want to do meaningful, great work.
They do, so yes.
Tell them what that is and then let them decide if they still want to participate. And if they don't, make it easy for them to go away. And if they do, make it easy for them to achieve. That's your job as a leader. No matter if you're working a big business or you have a team of 3. It's as simple and as complicated as that.
There's so many words that we think are bad words in the workplace. Like selfish is bad. Direct is bad. Being a diva is bad. And it's like, there's a lot of...
They don't have to be.
They don't have to be. They don't have to be at all. And like so many things, there's a spectrum, right? Like there's demanding green M&Ms every step you take versus like just asking for what you want and not feeling guilty about it.
Yeah, because that's what you've hired them to do. So, you talked earlier about recruitment is difficult. And certainly I do a lot of work with my clients around recruitment strategy and branding and execution, because it is such a complicated part, especially in a small business. Every hire is important and impactful and expensive. Because let's be clear, recruitment is expensive. Well, if you're just clear with yourself right from the start, and you create a clear expectation right from the job posting, then you can create a clear expectation for the execution and the follow through. And then it's your responsibility to make sure there's continued clarity. Again, as simple and as complicated as that. But if you're not clear, how the hell is anybody else going to be clear?
And we've all been on those projects where you're like, wait, why are we doing this? Who decided this? Everyone knows that we're just going like this is going to go off a cliff. We're okay. We all signed off on off the cliff plan. Okay.
Who's driving? Who is driving I'm on the bus. Who's driving the bus? Or do we have like Animal from the Muppets driving the bus, right? Like that's scary. People just want to know what you want them to do and that you are there to help them remove the roadblocks to do it. And if they can't do it, that they can talk to you about, hey, I'm having trouble.
Yeah. What made you want to focus on female small business owners in particular?
Yeah, that's a great question. Because I've worked with lots of men. I still do. I have male clients. They sneak in every once in a while. That's not true. I wanted to focus on female business owners because I think what we've just talked about is the truth. I think a lot of women leave corporate business for there's a couple big reasons. The first one is the toxic boss. The second one is because they have children and they decide that working corporate 9 to 5 with a 2-hour commute every day is not going to fit their lifestyle. And they want to be a high quality mom. I respect that. I have 4 kids. I want to be a high quality mom. And then, they have a deep desire to create, right? They have a longing to create something, whether that's a product or a service that they're really passionate about. But what inevitably happens is that they don't anticipate the leadership part. I have a great product. I want to sell it. I have a great service. I want to sell it. Holy shit, suddenly I have 16 people working for me and I don't know what to do with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Or I got
Mhm.
out of leadership at the corporate level because I didn't have a great example. I didn't get lots of support and training, and I really dislike it. Again, holy shit. Now I have 15 people reporting to me in my own business, and they're all looking at me to make decisions and to guide the ship. And I don't know if that's really what it's so to me, that was what was really important is these incredible, inspired, passionate women just need the opportunity to step into their own leadership, really own it in
Mhm.
their business, but also in their life. Because for all of us, being a business owner, a business leader is just one role. We are mothers, sisters, aunties, best friends, whatever.
Mhm.
Those roles are equally as important to us as our role as business owner, as CEO, whatever you want to call it. And so if we embrace our own authentic leadership style, we can show up better in all of those spaces. And to
So
me,
many.
that's the key, right? That's the key.
Mhm. Well, and study after study shows that when more women are in leadership positions, not in all of them, I'm not saying we need to have women leaders exclusively, but when there's
Oh,
more women leaders, the results tend to be more profitable, happier workplace environments. Like there's so many good metrics, and I find it really shocking because there was a similar study that came out about kids, like in grade school, like girls are trained to be more leadership. Sorry, excuse me. Girls are trained to be better leaders, whereas boys were not asked to be leaders at all at that age. And yet it reverses in society so far, where suddenly men are expected to be leaders, but women are told not to be. And it's such strange conditioning because it's the opposite of what you would expect based on how we started on this journey.
mm.
Um, and yeah, the phrase that I'm sure you've heard a million times, like, so how the mom goes, the home goes, how the women go, the community
Oh,
goes. And it's
100%.
like that ripple effect you talked about before. Giving one woman a successful business changes so much that is not measured enough in statistics to really look at
Yeah.
GDP impact and health and wellness impact and so many
Oh,
other
yeah.
things.
Well, I mean, and I can't remember the study, so I'm not going to quote this
Mhm.
properly, but it was micro loans for women in villages in Africa. Don't ask me where, don't ask me when, don't ask me how much. But what they uncovered was when, and we're talking like tens or hundreds of dollars,
Mhm.
micro loans for these women in their villages to create some kind of business. The ripple effects were astronomical. Women and girls became better educated. They became a force for good. They created more collaboration, like all of it. It was beautiful. And I hope that it's still continuing. I had a boss that used to do that regularly. I mean, they paid their loans back faster than ever, right? Like
Mhm.
it is the truth is when women own and lead organizations, big or small, the cultural shifts have incredible ripple effects. This is why I love to help women business owners be more impactful leaders and create really great places
Mhm.
to work because everyone in that business and their family and their kids and their relatives and the communities they get involved in and the sports and the activity, everything benefits.
Yeah.
The impacts are enormous. It doesn't matter if it's a six-figure business or an eight-figure business or whatever. The ripples can be felt for ages.
Mhm.
Yeah.
If we go back to 8-year-old you, would she have imagined that this is what your life is today and how you're making an impact?
No, I don't think so. I I really am an accidental entrepreneur. It is not ever what I imagined I would do. My parents were, my dad was a mounted policeman. My mom was a teacher for 35 years. I mean, they both have government pensions. That's the family I was raised in. My parents worked very hard and earned their beautiful retirement. They're currently in Texas,
Mhm.
enjoying the sunshine. So no, 8-year-old me would not have imagined that. In fact, I have a political science and a history degree.
Love it.
I came to business and then specifically into HR in my 20s and in my 30s. if I won the lottery tomorrow, I would actually go back and get like 3 PhDs. I would go and do research and archives and history and genealogy and all that stuff. So no, 8-year-old me would never have imagined that I would be doing this stuff.
What has surprised you the most about how having this business has changed you?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, like I said, I had a straight up learning curve. So I have learned a ton about myself in particular and how I want this business to be a reflection of me.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that because I've learned at the same time that I've been coaching and consulting on this exact same stuff. So it's really reinforced what I already knew to be true. It's absolutely shifted the way I view my own leadership, how I show up in my community. It's changed the things that I get involved in because it's caused me to be more focused and to feel more passionate about how my values are going to resonate outside of the walls that are my own home where I run my business. Right.
Yeah.
So it's been deeply impactful for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We ask everyone on the podcast where you put yourself on the Powerful Lady scale. If 0 is your average everyday human and 10 is the most powerful lady you can imagine, where would you put yourself today and where would you put yourself on average?
Yeah. So I'm coming off a migraine yesterday. So today I'm probably like a 4 or a 5 because my brain is still a little foggy. I would tell you that normally in terms of power, I'm high voltage. I like to operate right at an 8 or a 9. I certainly recognize there are some really powerful ladies that I see as 10 plus. And I think, yeah, that's who I aspire to be. That's the business I want to have. That's the passion that I want to pour into things I do. That's the way I want to show up. Now, they're 5 or 6 or 8 or 10 years ahead of me in their business journey. So I also recognize I'm going to grow into that. Right? Yeah.
Like, I can't imagine not having inspiring people that you're chasing after. Like, to me, that just makes it so fun. Like, I remember in the corporate world when I got to a point where there weren't many people above me anymore, it was boring. Because I was like, well, okay, well, I don't really want to go any higher. And now what? So I like being in a space where there's always going to be a Beyonce where you're like, huh, I didn't think about that. I think I need to add that to my list of goals.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Yeah. We've also been asking everyone lately on the podcast, like, what do you need? What's on your wish list? How can we help? I love the idea of having a to manifest list and a to-do list. And this is a pretty powerful, connected community. So if you treated powerful ladies like a genie, what would you ask for?
Oh yeah. Rub the bottle, baby. Yeah. First and foremost, I'm a connector at heart. Connection is a big value for me. And so I love connecting with other strong, powerful women who want to be great leaders and who want to grow really beautiful work environments, want to have great cultures. So I always want to connect with women like that. So that would be number one, connect with me. Right? So come and find me. I'm not hard to find. I think the second piece is this message around the positive intelligence and the way that work has shifted the way, it's work I still do every day. And the way that it's shifted how I view myself and my own saboteurs, that nasty little, sneaky little jerk of a voice in my own head when I kick the shit out of myself. That is work. I think that's like the human condition. I think it's work everybody needs to do. And so my second wish would be that everyone check out the positive intelligence pieces and how it can be of service to them.
Real quick, before you go to 3, have you named your that mean voice in your head by any chance?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Her name is Elle.
Oh, okay.
So me, right? So
yeah.
makes sense. Yeah.
A friend of mine named hers Fran.
Mm.
And so she'll be like, fuck you, Fran, and like tell Fran to get lost sometimes.
I love it.
But then she got married and her mother-in-law is named Fran. And she's like, do I change the name? And we're like, you can't. Like, you've already been yelling at her for all this time. So like, you just have to have 2 Frans in your life now.
Yeah, but you just better be careful about which one you're talking to. Like,
yeah.
company. That could be tricky. Yeah, I mean, I love, getting up close and personal with those conversations that are in your own head and what are the behaviors they are driving. I love doing that work. Every time I run a cohort of people through the program and do the group coaching with them, I learn something. It never ceases to amaze me the way people absorb and interact with their own saboteur and the new, interesting, creative ways they think and see it, and how that shines a light on the work I still need to do. Because Lord knows, when I think I got it figured out, my saboteur runs and does something shitty and I go into a shame spiral. Anyways, that is number 2. That work to me is very meaningful, and I love to talk about it and promote it, and because I think everyone can find value from that. And what would be the third piece? Such a great question. I think for me, the third piece would be if, man, this is my brain not working today. What would be number 3 on my list? Those 2 things are both so big and powerful for me.
I mean, it can be small. We have to manifest a free coffee sometimes. So
yeah, right. I think that, the third piece for me would be, really having everyone who's listening today spend some time reflecting on who they are as a leader. What is my style? How do I want to show up and lead? And not just if you're running your own business, but lead in your life, right? Lead as a parent, lead as a sister, lead as a BFF. If we all stopped in this world and reflected a little bit more on how we want to lead ourselves and how we want to show up in that role in our communities and our cultures, man, I think the world would be a different place. So maybe that's what I would put as number 3.
I mean, that's why I'm doing my thing too, because these are the things that will change the world, because it has that ongoing carryover effect that we've been talking about. And I love that you talked about reflect on your leadership style, because you have a quiz on your website that we can send people to. So for people who want to take the leadership style quiz, if they want to find you, follow you, work with you, where can they do all of that?
Yeah. So you can find me and the quiz at highvoltageleadership.ca. And there's just a button at the top of the page that says take the quiz. And the quiz it's fun. It's interesting. It's only going to take you a few minutes. And I'm so gratified because I've gotten some really great feedback on it. Like, people have found that it's something that's insightful, but not heavy. Like, this is not psychometric testing, everybody. Just to be clear. And I share some of my top tips depending on this different style. It just gives you something to reflect on and to think about. So actually that's a great thing. Go and do the quiz. And then you can find out more about me and what I do and the people that I work with on the website as well.
Amazing. Well, it has been such a pleasure to talk to you today. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. And I'm excited to have you be part of our International Women's Day conversation too. Thank you so much.
I'm super jazzed about that. I love it.
Amazing. Well, we will wrap it up there if that works for you. Is there anything else you want to say? Okay.
Oh, I love it. Come and find me. Connect with me on social media. I love that.
All the links to connect with Lindsay and High Voltage Leadership are in our show notes at thepowerfulladies.com. Please subscribe to this podcast wherever you're listening and leave us a rating and review. They're critical for podcast visibility. Come join us on Instagram at Powerful Ladies. And if you're looking to connect directly with me, visit karaduffy.com or Kara_Duffy on Instagram. I'll be back next week with a brand new episode and new amazing guest. Until then, I hope you're taking on being powerful in your life. Go be awesome and up to something you love.